Welcome to Ghost Carrier, our 15-part alternative history audio series about a world where America lost the Pacific War. This is the tale of a doomed aircraft carrier and its crew, stranded in the vast Pacific by a supernatural twist of fate. This story has been adapted from my book, Ghost Carrier. You can purchase the full version in paperback, Kindle, or audiobook from the links in this episode's description. I'm Robert Child, and Episode 5 will begin in a moment.
You know, it's really a privilege to be involved with a documentary about the USS Franklin. And the Franklin was something that I'd always been fascinated by. And then producer Joe Small and producer-director Rob Childs come to me and say, look, how about if you use your dulcet tones to tell the Franklin story? So as I began to look through the story, and as Rob and Joe kept sending me more and more material, this thing was peeling like an onion. I was seeing more and more and more of a really, really important story in naval history, and one which hadn't been told. So they had to throw a 2-inch heaving line on me to keep me from charging right down here to the studio and helping to put this together.
Captain Dale Dye narrates USS Franklin, Honor Restored. Available now on Amazon Prime.
Ghost Carrier, They Died to Fight Another Day. Written by Robert Child. Narrated by Kirk Winkler. Frank and Katie's house. Katie, I've had it. I'm done with the sessions. Frank got up from the dinner table and headed toward the living room. Katie followed. You haven't even given it a chance. 5 weeks? 5 weeks isn't giving it a chance? Katie frowned. Every week it's the same old, why do you think this is happening, Frank? And why do you feel so abandoned by your father, Frank? He's the psychiatrist. He's supposed to tell me, and I don't feel abandoned. I tell you, Katie, I should have gone into psychology. It's a complete crock of horse shit that makes people a lot of money. Oh, Frank. No, I mean it. I'm done, and a lighter wallet is all I've got to show for it. Frank dropped on the couch, picked up the remote, clicked on ESPN Sports Center, and settled back. So that's what you're going to do? Sit there and watch sports? It's therapeutic. And tonight you're going to wake up again in cold sweats screaming. What do you want me to do? Therapy didn't help. I want us to get some help. This hasn't been easy on me either, you know. What? What do you want me to do? Tell me. I'll do anything. Katie looked down, gathering her courage. Frank, you think you're seeing what happened to your dad on that ship, right? I know I'm seeing what happened to my dad on that ship. All right, you know. Well, there's a way you can contact him. We could find a psychic. Maybe he's trying to send you a message from the other side. Frank put down the remote and looked up at Katie, ready to shoot down her idea. Then the vision of his father in the flames of the cake candles, screaming his name, entered his mind. Frank stared at Katie a moment, then looked past her into the distance without saying a word. Frank? Frank? What? I'm right here. You went away someplace. I'm sorry, I was just remembering something. What? Doesn't matter. He gritted his teeth and said, all right, Katie. I'll see a psychic or medium or whatever you call them. Nothing else has done any damn good. Katie smiled. Maybe we'll get some answers. Crestwood Avenue, Dayton, Ohio. Frank turned onto the residential street with Katie riding shotgun. They'd come several miles across town into the affluent part of Dayton, looking for 1291 Crestwood. I guess being a psychic pays pretty good, Frank muttered. What's her name again? Maria, and she comes highly recommended. Donna goes to her all the time. Your crazy cousin, Donna? I wouldn't call that a ringing endorsement. I asked other people, too. Okay. Now, when we get in there, let me do the talking. I don't want you giving her too much information. I know how these people operate." "Okay, Frank. Look, there it is, $12.91. It was a tasteful Tudor-style colonial, with well-kept gardens near the front and creeping roses over a trellis on the side of the house. "This doesn't look too bad," Frank admitted. "See, she must be good." "Or expensive," Frank countered. As they reached the door, Maria greeted them warmly. "You must be the Rusks." "Yes, I'm Kate, and this is my husband, Frank." "It's a pleasure to meet you both. Please come in and follow me." Maria, a tall, dark-haired woman in her late 40s, dressed in a conservative navy pantsuit, led them down the hall as a white cat trailed behind them. "You're not allergic to cats, are you?" Maria asked as she led them into a large wood-paneled library. No, cats are fine. We owned a cat for a long time," Katie offered. Frank threw Katie a look, reminding her not to be too talkative. "How long have you been doing this, Maria?" Frank asked. "Oh, as far back as I can remember, but I'm sure you mean professionally, and that would be about 20 years. "Must have a lot of satisfied customers." "I hope so, but as I tell my clients, a lot of what comes through from the other side is based on them and how open they are to the experience." Frank looked around the very large room they had just entered. He guessed it to be about 700 square feet. The walls were lined with books. It felt quiet and serene. "Hey, this is nice," Frank said. "Thank you. I find books very comforting. This is the calmest room in the house. My clients love it." "I can see why," Katie offered. "Now, who's getting the reading today?" That would be me," Frank said, pointing to himself. Maria turned to Katie. "You're welcome to stay during the session if you like, Mrs. Rusk. Or if you'd rather not, I have some coffee set out in the living room. You could wait there if you like. It's up to you." "It's really up to Frank," Katie said, turning to her husband. Frank smiled somewhat nervously. "Katie, I'd like you to stay." She returned his smile. "Very well. Please make yourselves comfortable. Mrs. Rusk, you can have a seat over there on the sofa." Maria led Frank over to 2 brown leather wing-back chairs set in front of an enormous hearth. The dark leather sofa was about 10 feet away, but close enough so Katie would be able to hear the reading. "Have you ever been to a psychic before, Mr. Rusk, or do you prefer to be called Frank?" "No, I never have, and Frank is fine." "A first-timer. Good. During the session, I like to hold an item that you use or wear on a regular basis, perhaps a ring or a watch." Frank looked down at the Hamilton watch on his wrist. It was the only item his mom had passed down to him that had belonged to his dad. "You can hold my watch," he said. He carefully unstrapped it and handed it to her. "Good. Thank you, Frank. Please have a seat," she said, motioning to the high-backed chair closest to the window. Frank settled into the surprising comfort of the chair as Maria sat nearby in the other wing-back. "The sessions typically last about 1 hour. You can pay me at the end." "Geez, I almost forgot. How much do you charge?" $20. Frank repeated her words with disbelief. $20? "I don't do this for the money, Frank." At that, Frank turned to Katie and shrugged. "Shall we begin?" When Frank nodded, Maria clasped the watch between both hands, closed her eyes, and began inhaling and exhaling deeply, in and out, in and out. Frank watched her as she slowly descended into her trance. He noticed her brow had furrowed, and she swung her head from left to right, back and forth. "No, this is not right. Something is off. Something is wrong." Frank looked down at the goosebumps that had risen on his forearms. What's wrong?" Frank said, leaning toward her. "Are both your parents deceased?" "Yes." "I see only one. I'm getting an F. Francine, Frankie—" "Franny," Frank answered her. "She is very upset." "Upset?" It's about your dad. What? What did he do? Wait, she's communicating something. She's saying, help him, help him. I'm not sure I understand. She's pleading. She wants you to help your father. Frank's eyes grew wide as he looked over at Katie, who was holding her hands tight over her mouth and shaking her head. Help my dad? How? He passed away in World War II. Maria exhaled, breaking her trance, and slowly opened her eyes. No, Frank. No, he didn't. Frank jumped to his feet, hyperventilating. What do you mean, no, he didn't? He was killed in the Pacific in 43 when his ship went down. He drowned with 600 other guys. Frank, Mr. Rusk, please, be calm. Be calm? This is a bunch of phony baloney horse shit, that's what this is. Come on, Katie, we're going... Frank, sit down now. Frank was stunned into silence. Katie never yelled at him. What the hell is going on? Frank started to pace back and forth. Okay, I just gotta breathe. Give me a second. Please, Mr. Rusk, Frank, be calm. I feel there is very important information I need to convey. Please. Frank returned to his chair slowly. Look, I just don't understand. I'm trying to help you figure it out, Frank. One moment. Then Maria closed her eyes and fell back into her trance. She nodded and seemed to be listening to something. Your mom is sending you her love. She is telling me she gave you this watch on your 13th birthday, your father's watch. She is saying she told you that she felt you could finally take care of it like a responsible young man, Frank said, his voice breaking as he finished Maria's sentence. Yes, Maria responded softly, still wrapped in her trance. She says you've been having visions. Yes, terrible ones. I don't know why I am having them, but they won't stop. She's telling me they're from your dad, that his soul is sending them to you. Frank turned to Katie to see her reaction. Katie's astonished look told him she didn't know what to make of this either. Why? Frank asked. It's a distress call. You and he share a strong bond, a soul link. Then she paused to draw a breath and continued. What I am about to tell you may sound very strange, but please stay with me. I believe he is trapped. He is very confused. Trapped? Trapped where? Like in purgatory? No, that's a religious construct. Look, a minute ago you said he wasn't dead, and now you tell me he's trapped. Where the hell is he? Frank, I know this will be very difficult to understand, but I believe he's trapped in a parallel dimension. Parallel dimension? What the hell is a parallel dimension? Parallel dimensions are really parallel realities that exist all around us. They are infinite in number and populated by versions of ourselves who have made alternate choices. They are infinite parallel realities and infinite parallel Earths. They are all real and valid based on the choices we make or do not make in our lives. I'm sorry, I'm not following any of this. You, Frank, you're married. You and Katie probably have a family. You have something you do for work. These are all real-life choices, and the results are what you are living on a daily basis in this dimensional reality. But there are other Franks who did not get married, who may not have gone to college, who may have a totally different profession. Your soul is really multidimensional, and those Franks who are all part of the same soul are experiencing their reality on a parallel track with yours. They do not have your memories. They have their own pasts and will have their own futures as they go about their lives with no knowledge of you or all the other Franks. Frank shook his head and sighed. Even if I could remotely understand what you're saying, what does all this have to do with my dad? I feel his spirit, or at least part of it, crossed into a parallel reality track, and I feel great psychic trauma associated with it. You say he went down on a ship? Yes, the worst carrier disaster in the Pacific. 650 men went down on his ship in the blink of an eye. They probably didn't even know what hit them. Okay, now I see. Now this is making sense. I feel he is trapped in an alternate reality, living as, what's his name, please? Joe. Joe, living the life of a parallel Joe. Joe, living the life of a parallel Joe. The problem I'm sensing is that his soul has retained memories from his other life in this dimension. The door is still ajar. He remembers you. He remembers he had a son. And he remembers he drowned on a ship. My God. His soul is in great torment. She paused to find the right words. What I am feeling is he would rather be dead than alive in a different life without you.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Ghost Carrier, our 15-part alternative history series. Join us next time for another installment. This story has been adapted from my book, Ghost Carrier. You can purchase the full version in paperback, Kindle, or audiobook from the links in this episode's description. And if you like what you hear, leave a review or a rating, or just click the follow button. I'm Robert Child, and this has been Ghost Carrier, only on Point of the Spear.
Music licensed from audioblocks.com. Point of the Spear is produced by RSC Media Group.